Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time and talk about it every week. Today we'll be talking about Animorphs number 36, The Mutation. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, the expert on both Lovecraftian mythology and bullet calibers.
But the newbie on Animorphs.
Yes.
Okay. We should start our own podcast with, we'll call it Lovecraft Bullet Fest.
Whoa!
Holy fuck!
Sorry, let me just
that?
let me just ASMR open up some seaweed because we're going to Atlantis, folks.
God
Woo,
damn
woo.
it! Did you seriously just do that bit? Did you just do that for a bit, or were you just opening a bag of chips or something nearby?
No, I'm actually opening up a little thing of seaweed. It was on super sale. This enormous box of like 30 of them was on sale for $10.
Why right now? Just for that gag?
Yeah, let's jump into some.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Okay. What's up with this email from Quince Jelly?
Yeah, so we received a series of emails, actually, which I unfortunately didn't get for a while because we got it through our contact form on our website, and that is full of spam, and a lot of it is pretty nasty, so don't read it too often. If you want to get in touch with us, though, you can email us directly, and I will read all of those at dorkbajirchronicles@gmail.com. I'm not going to go into all the details, but it was kind of a live read of some of our episodes in like the best possible way that any podcast host would be very happy to receive. So this is just a very late shout out to Quince Jelly, if that is your real name.
Ba-ba.
I don't think it is, buddy.
We got a second piece of fan mail from the Tumblr of all places. What? Tumblr fan mail? We haven't done one of those in ages.
Didn't they kick us off with the porn ban?
I mean, they were male presenting Hork-Bajir spikes, and also the difference is really only for Hork-Bajir to know. So Tumblr figured out, okay, what we did was wrong, and they let us back on. It's our old buddy Zarok, who always tags us in cool stuff. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, Zarok. That's a bunch of fan mail here. First, wondering, what system did Braden use for the Mass Effect RPG? Way back when.
I'm pretty sure it was 5e, but I'm not 100% sure.
There's a suggestion for book 31, The Conspiracy, of Tom. You know, he's a Yeerk and he's got to go away for 4 days. How does Tom get out of it? Zarok's suggestion was tell Mr. Tidwell, the guy part of the Yeerk peace movement, about this break a leg plan, and then he can like pass it from Yeerk to try to give it to Tom so that the Yeerks kind of take care of their own, right? Like he broke his leg. He has to stay in the special hospital.
Yeah, actually, it seems kind of obvious now that we think. He didn't even have to actually break his leg. Like, all he had to do was go to a sharing meeting, and then, like,
something
when
happens
he gets there,
and he's in the hospital, yeah.
Have someone call, like, ship him off to a Yeerk-controlled hospital, and then call his dad. Oh my god, Dad, I got hit by a car on my way to the sharing. Yeah, come on down, visit me. See, my leg's in a cast.
Like, and because of the crazy break, or like maybe he's in surgery and it's a crazy break, so he has to stay in the hospital for a couple extra days. Also, lastly, a question. If Braden was an Animorph and he morphed another animal, would he still have the cold when he morphed back? Well, Braden doesn't have the cold this time, now it's Mikhail. So, I think the real answer is that all of us have colds at some point during
I believe
recording.
a disease would disappear because, like, it's not attached, a disease isn't attached to your DNA. But what makes the difference between a disease and a virus, I believe viruses actually do attach to your DNA in some way. Is that right?
Let's jump into the summary. This week, it's Brayden.
Hello. It feels like it's been so long, so let's just jump right into it before you get bored of me. So,
that could never happen, Brayden. We missed you so much last week. Don't listen to it. There was a lot of very respectful imitation.
God damn it.
Tasteful.
Did we? Yeah, but we do that when he's here, too.
You do
That's
do
true.
that
We
one.
do that when he's here.
Anyway, okay, so we start off the book with a bunch of stuff that honestly doesn't end up mattering as much as it seems like. But we open with Jake getting a call from Cassie, who Cassie tells him some sort of code that means come to the barn. She seems very upset. He goes to the barn and finds a number of free Dork-Bajir and Cassie gathered around a just mutilated Dork-Bajir. And they tell him this is because Visser 3 has been trying to get the Pemelite ship again. He's been trying to physically graft the characteristics of, like, aquatic creatures onto host bodies like the Dork-Bajir. But he's been failing, so he just made a new battleship. We need to go destroy the battleship. And it's like, oh. So, you know, you're kind of excited, like, ooh, are they going to master these Dork-Bajir with gills? Is that going to be the challenge? No, it's just to get Cassie kind of upset in a way that doesn't actually matter.
Do you guys remember how... Sorry to interrupt, but
No.
I think it was book... Was it a Rachel book? I can't remember, but it's the one where they first go to the Pemelite ship.
Yeah, that was book 27.
Yeah, the fucking blade ship can go underwater.
Yeah.
Didn't we already figure that out?
It did go underwater a bit, but then the thing is that Eric moved it. At the end of book 27, he moved it super deep down to the ocean. So I think the thing is the blade ship can't go down that far into the ocean because of the pressure.
But I'm pretty sure they said that they wouldn't need, like, the squid morph because they're not going that deep. So, ipso facto, the ship is actually higher up.
Or did they put it in a more dangerous area?
I remember specifically, Eric said at the very end of book 27, it said that Eric put it super deep down, that's super impossible for anyone to find. But then they make the new ship, so they want to interact with the Seablade while it's still higher up in the water, I think was the plan.
I do like that you're trying to defend it sort of to the last breath.
I'm trying to do something with the canon because I fucking hate this book.
Guys, this literally doesn't
so
matter.
much.
Literally none of this matters. Why are we wasting time on this?
Yeah, it's fine. Let's move on.
Well, they end up, like I said, like about a good quarter of this book ends up not mattering, even though it is actually pretty cool and brutal.
Like, the first half of it is, like, nothing.
Yeah, they get orca whale morphs stupid quick. It's not even, like, a scene. Cassie just says, oh, we have orca whales at Sea Town.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
And this is not a joke. The whale is named Swoosh because the display is sponsored by Nike.
Also, I had to, like, flip... That is ridiculous, and we'll get into that maybe later, but I had to flip back and see if I missed the scene where they acquired the orca. But it was off camera.
They totally gloss over it, which is rare.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it would have been super full of hijinks, but instead they wanted to have the kids almost die as orcas 3 times.
I know. Yeah, it's a...
Yeah, let's do that.
Also, so they end up running into some wild orcas as they're catching up with the Sea Blade, as this underwater version of the blade ship is called. And it turns out the only reason that these other orcas are in the book is because they wanted a reason to describe probably the single most horrifying gore that has yet been described in Animorphs. Just like, they couldn't just write, like, they fired their Dracon beams and we dodged them. No. They fired their Dracon beams, but accidentally hit another orca, which was bisected, and we got covered in its guts, and we couldn't see through its mist of blood.
Like,
And
he
it's
literally says, there's not 8 orcas, there's 9 of them. Oh man, he was like sliced in half like a loaf of bread to make a sandwich. I'm like, cool, this is great. How did I ever read this when I was 9?
Yeah, and then they end up damaging the ship and then getting to cover by literally slamming into a dead orca and using its body as cover. Jake is in trouble for a hot minute, but oh my god, I just realized how this sounds. He gets saved by Cassie swallowing him and then spitting him 15 feet into the air as they go upwards by breaching. Breaching is the word. Cassie vores him and then breaches.
No, it was Rachel. This is cousin on cousin. 2 fetishes at once.
So they're on the surface and they're noticing, like, well, we gotta go back down there and fuck up the ship anyway. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Oh, that rock wall just opened up and 4 people. They specify 4 people.
Humanoid. They do say
4
humanoid. It feels
people,
like Dungeons and Dragons-y.
Yeah, 4 humanoids push the Seablade into this open rock wall, which is like, can they do that? How big is this ship? Didn't they have a huge crew? How big is this ship? What? What the hell is going on?
If things are like lighter in the water, dude.
Not that much lighter. Do you think you could push an aircraft carrier?
I think I could. But
that is not the answer
strong.
I was expecting.
I've gone to the gym 3 times in the last couple of weeks, so I'm basically a jock now.
All right. So they follow this the Seablade and this little crowd. They find a way into the cave system to find out who these humanoids are and if they can still destroy the blade ship. And they find, in like a sea cave, a bunch of carved coral. And they realize, well, wait a minute, there's no coral in this area. You know, because we still don't know what this area is.
Yeah, that's the weirdest part.
That's the weirdest part. It's not the fact that it's like a Spanish galleon from the 1800s sitting on top of the coral.
I'm getting to that. And then it turns out there's a bunch of like ancient ships from all these different time periods, and they're full of stuffed, preserved human beings. And they're like, what? This is... God, this book is so freaky and weird and like just so absolutely Lovecraftian, and like I love it. I love this book. I can't not admit it. I love this book.
Oh my god.
They find out that the reason who's collecting these ships and like stuffing these people is an underwater race called the Nartek, and they see them taking the Dork-Bajir controllers hostage, and they see them being dragged away, and they get caught by them themselves and are put before the queen, and the queen is like, hello, well, we'll make no bones about it, we are also going to kill and stuff you, but first we want to know how you got down here and all that shit. And the Animorphs are like, we don't want to do that. And they're like, and the queen is like, well, come back tomorrow. Okay, here's a tour guide. Here's a tour guide. Look around our city. Decide that we are like evil and that our class system is bad, and then escape, I guess. Bye. Or don't escape. I mean, bye.
It's pretty unclear. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was very ominous.
The Nartek are like, they're kind of dressed like Greek is how they described it. They had a bunch of
it's woven out of seaweed, so it's weird, rubbery Greek.
And they have a bunch of different weapons from a bunch of different time periods, like bow and arrows and spears, but also like guns and shit like that. And they specify, well, Jake, quote unquote, specifies that one of the Nartek is carrying a 50 caliber machine gun and a bandolier of ammo.
Okay. A 50 caliber machine gun, that's like a fucking anti-aircraft machine gun.
That's like at least that's something you gotta strap to a vehicle.
Yeah. That's what Rambo used in the remember the remake where he there was a guy in the distance and he was using a car mounted machine gun and then he shredded that guy.
That one was actually a little heavier than 50 cal even, but
still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about guns, so pew pew.
50 caliber is large. It means like huge bullets, basically.
Like, all you would have had to do was correct it to 56 millimeter, and it would have been fine.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, these are... Okay, a 50 cal... I'm just doing some research. 50 caliber machine gun is on tanks. The
Oh
M2
my
Browning
god,
is
what?
on tanks,
And they
yeah.
wait, so they described this guy carrying one of those around?
Yeah, haven't you played Gears of War? You can do
No,
that.
I've never played Gears of War. I play Stardew Valley, okay?
Oh, you haven't gotten to the 50 caliber machine gun part of Stardew Valley yet, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I'm not very far. I've started growing turnips, and that's about it. I've heard if you finish like the 5th year and you can build a 60 caliber bullet even.
There's actually like a racial war that happens at one point too.
Oh my
There's
God.
like uprising of the dwarves.
The dwarves versus just the white humans, not the black humans.
It's that one guy's dad who just returned from war, so he's already like battle scarred.
Anyway, so they eventually do escape after being allowed to check out the library and realizing, oh, this is my favorite. This is like all the spooky skinning humans shit and all the aliens, all that is nothing. This edition is the most Lovecraftian thing in this book, and I love it. They establish that the Nartex have been living underwater so long that they are a species of human that have been living underwater so long that they have they evolved gills and shit, and now they are devolving through excessive inbreeding.
Also, I don't think devolving is a word. Is it?
It's not. That's not quite what's happening. It also wasn't evolution. It was because like they had these glowing rocks, and Axe was like, "Yeah, those are probably like super radioactive. So these guys are mutating, not evolving. So the mutation is like twisting them."
It is evolving if it gets passed on to future generations.
Okay, technically.
Well, does evolution have to necessarily be like the strongest survive?
No, it just has to mean like not necessarily. It means the survive. Evolution isn't the strongest survive. It's the survivors breed. Like you can be the strongest, baddest goat in the herd, but like if the mutation that makes you the strongest, biggest, baddest also makes you infertile, it doesn't matter. A not strong, not big, not bad goat is going to get his nut somewhere, and he's going to have kids and you're not. And that goat will define the next generation evolutionarily.
So I'm just doing some reading, and it looks like the word devolution does exist, but it's not really like recognized. Yeah.
Like this situation has devolved. It's like it's usually used for situations, not genetics.
Oh no, I mean like there are people that use it in biology.
Oh.
Or in reference to biology, but I think excuse me, evolutionary biologists are like, no, that's not like you can't get an evolution, an adaptation, and then revert back to the old one. You're just evolving further and maybe coincidentally getting an old trait. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, they also plan to steal. They need, in order to breed and not have a bunch of terrible baby deaths from inbreeding. Their words, not mine.
Yeah, that's verbatim from the book.
Yes, terrible baby deaths. They have to steal the surface dwellers' DNA and use it to breed instead, which sounds fun, but it turns out they can just like mash up your stomach or whatever.
It doesn't sound fun. What?
What?
This freaky blue-skinned fish people?
I mean, my boy Marco knew what was up.
Yeah, no, Marco literally says, nice body on that one. And then Jake, during the tour, at one point, he, like, pretends to be interested in this art that he then realizes is, like, of a naked fish lady. And Marco asks, oh, are there, like, apartments for rent in front of this art?
But that's just like humor, y'all. It's just like...
I don't think it's humor. I think he was sporting a bone. under his spandex the whole time.
My man Marco has what H.P. Lovecraft would call the Innsmouth fever.
Ugh.
Fuck, I wish I knew what that was, because that delivery was amazing.
It sounds bad. I don't like it.
Yeah, it does sound bad. Also, I think they were saying that in a way that, like, in South Park, when, like, the kindergarten teacher is, like, having a sexual relationship with one of the students, and the cops are like, nice. It's that kind of thing, where, like, if it was real, you wouldn't actually be okay with it, but you're like, does that make sense?
No. What?
Okay. It's like a teenager being like, oh, I'd love to get raped. But it's like, in real life, it's like, no, you wouldn't.
What?
Brayden, back me up on this.
No. What the fuck kind of teenager were you?
Okay, well, first of all, I was a guy. It's very different for guys.
That's not how I would put it, but like...
But that's not how it was said, but that is
what
was meant.
Was
if
implied,
you know what I mean.
like, yeah, I'd love to have sex with my English teacher, is essentially saying, I would love to be involved in a relationship that's technically statutory rape.
Exactly. That's the kind of joke it is. And is it a bad joke? Yeah. Are they 13? Yeah. Do I wish it wasn't in the book? Also, yes. Moving on.
This was an uncomfortable comparison to Marco wanting to bang a mermaid.
I think those comments in 2019 were fucked up. I'm just saying. Also, colonial implications. Just saying. No?
Yes, of course.
I don't know. I stopped listening after you said, you know how you just want to get raped sometimes? I was like, nope. I'm just going to keep thinking about Swoop the Sea Orc, who lives in Seatown.
Anyway, I haven't mentioned, but Tobias didn't get caught and hasn't been with us this whole time. So when they get taken prisoner and brought to a lab where they're going to be drugged and ground up, suddenly one of the Nartek has a club and, like, boops the other ones on the head and releases them and is like, hey, it's me, Tobias. It doesn't break our no humans rule to morph an inbred mermaid, does it?
Oh, man. Can you imagine if he was, like, just, played lawfully stupid and was just like, I couldn't save you guys. I would have had to morph a Nartek. Greater good, Tobias.
All right. Well, they end up, it becomes pretty standard Animorphs fare from here. They get out, they morph, they battle all the Narteks. They try not to, do too many lethal blows because I guess, I don't know. These guys are pretty much the definition of chaotic evil. So, like, I don't know why they bothered. But the real cool thing that happens by the end of this is they get to the Sea Blade, they get inside of it and start to pilot it, but they're being overrun, and suddenly comes out this strange, glowing, floating little thing with big fat fingers that's shooting lightning bolts everywhere, and Jake is like, what the hell is that? And Axe is like, yes, it's a Luminarian. That can only mean one thing. And it turns out that this weird lightning bolt shooting beastie is Visor 3. And he's like, well, Andalite bandits, I don't want to get skinned alive, and I don't think you do either. So, should we, let's get the hell out of here. And they're like, yeah, road trip. And they end up tricking him. They all get out together, and then before he can betray them, they blast open. They open up the doors to the outside world, the outseed world.
Oh,
yeah.
What is this, a Tessa summary?
And they let in all the water.
Nice.
They demorph and then turn into underwater creatures and get away from Visor 3. And then the ending, they're like, gosh, we should go back there someday and stop those Nartek. I mean, that's really fucked up what they're doing down there, right? And then Axe is like, well, maybe man is the real monster.
I fucking hated that part so
It
much.
was so stupid!
Ugh. It's like, no. I mean, man sucks, but they didn't cause the fucking mermaid people with the taxidermy humans and stuff.
And, the way, so that scene where they're all captured and they're all like tied down, and the one Nartek is saying, "Okay, I'm about to administer the drug, and then after that, we're gonna rip you open from the top of your skull down to your buttocks, and then we're going to remove your leg bones, and then all of your ribs.
But first, we're gonna eat your poop."
Too much detail. Ah, it was so creepy.
When I started reading this, I thought what Axe was saying was like, well, you know, it wasn't all bad. They killed those Japanese guys.
Oh my god.
Because, he was like, those flyers back there, filthy, sick creatures. As bad as the Yerks. And I'm like, what?
Jake does talk about how, like, I want to say the U-boats or something, where, like, this used to be flown by my enemy, but now it's giving me shelter or something. I'm like, fucking Jake, fuck off. You're not like some worldly soldier. Get out of here.
Well, I mean,
my enemies.
Well, I mean, it's established now that he's Jewish, and I mean, if anybody has the right to say, like, this is my enemy about like a Nazi U-boat, I think it's him.
You know what? That's very fair. I'll say that.
So, okay, if I'm reading the room correctly, Tessa and I did not like this book at all. Brayden loved it.
I appreciated it.
Okay, I will say I had more fun on this latest reread than I have ever had reading this book. But as a whole, I will say it is my least favorite Animorphs book. Yeah, I said it.
I feel like you've also said that about other ones.
But I think it's literally just because I don't like Jake books for the most part. Like, he gets better towards the end as some more shit happens.
Yeah.
But this is just a rehash of book 16 and book 11.
I put it in my notes. I had the revelation that I think a lot of Jake books end up being less about Jake than they do about all the other Animorphs. You know what I mean?
Not really, no.
Like, as the leader, he ends up having to deal with everybody else's character quirks more than he does his own, and therefore the whole story does.
But I mean, he did have his whole thoughts still about, like, oh, what choice am I making? Oh, is this the right choice? And it's like, dog, we have been through this dog and pony dance too many times, and I'm over it. You're boring.
I think I would have liked it more if, like, in Jake books, we see tough decisions that single out Animorphs.
Yeah.
It's like specific ones. If it's like Marco, like he asked Marco to hold the hatch, but it's not because anything other than Marco has arms, right? But I meant more like mental strengths. Like when he asks Rachel to do that intimidation thing against David, it's like, yeah, like that would be a really hard thing to ask of your cousin and your friend. And I like those moral quandaries. Yeah. I don't like this like, oh, let's run away. I guess I have to make the hard choices. It's like, that's not a hard choice, dog. Everyone wants to run away right now.
Or it's like, should we morph or should we not morph? Who's to say?
Yeah.
Like, probably always morph. That wasn't okay. They're wandering around this unknown place in humans. Like, what is this? The TV show? Come on!
There's also the part where they're like morphing orcas like over and over again as they get wounded and going back down, and Jake has like a narrative moment where he's like, it's me. I'm forcing them to do this. They're all listening. It's like, dog, they would be doing this if you weren't here. If you were sick somewhere, they would be still doing this.
They would probably still be doing this. Yeah, no, like, or like a book 33 moment where he has to tell Tobias to go and get tortured because he's the only one of the thing would, like, from Jake's perspective, that would be so cool. Please.
Yeah. And I didn't really see a lot of that in this book. The only moment that seemed like anything was even on his shoulders at all is when they got caught. They were like, should we just battle morph and run? He's like, no. It's like, okay. And then guess what they did in the end? Battle morph and run.
Like, that was a stupid choice. Like, oh, they're going to see us morph. Dog, they probably already saw you morph out of owls. Whoops. You fucked that one up. And the amount of times that it was like, oh, they're aquatic creatures, but let's look at the skies and let's not worry about the water that's everywhere. And then, oh, oopsie daisy, water creatures burst out of the water and hurt
like, there's this literal, it's like an Arrested Development joke where Jake is describing his inner monologue, and he's like, Tobias, or he's telling Axe, like, be ready for anything. But then, like, and Axe is, like, about to muscle his way through the one guy that's guarding them. And then Jake is like, and then, in my own head, right then and there, I said to myself, amphibious, Jake. Amphibious. And then 2 more dudes jumped out of the water.
Like,
Yeah.
they were so stupid.
And I could just hear the do 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 do.
Oh, the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme. Did you guys have a hard time like creating a mental image of this stuff? Like the part where they're like, oh, the rock wall like created a laser in it that turned into a square and then a circle. And it's like, that's interesting.
It felt like a lot of unnecessary detail. It was like, you could just say the rock wall opened up. Like, why was it so fanciful that it was like a rectangle and then a square and then a circle?
Also, that's not technology they could have like found. Like, what is that? It's like space technology.
Yeah, like that's not Earth technology.
Sorry, making rocks different shapes is space technology?
I would say making rocks open up with magical light where no one's operating any machines or anything under the pressure of the entire ocean. Fucking, that's gotta be some non-human stuff.
Like, humans have done it for movies, but that's all CGI, dog. I'm saying dog a lot in this episode. I'm just noticing. I don't know what that's about. It's like a new energy I'm bringing to the podcast.
Dog.
Whoa. Can't touch this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think before we get into the world building stuff, which I think was probably the best part, I think we could wrap this up with a bow. I think we all agree, is what I'm trying to say, that it's a bad book for character development, and most of Jake's books have been.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good Jake book. 26.
16 is good. There's a lot of tension in 16.
You know what? 16 was good. I do like 16, but it was also the same kind of thing as 11. Like, it's the same kind of questions, right? Like, 31, it wasn't my match.
Like, Tobias kind of hit the peak of his arc very early, but maybe Jake also hit the peak of his arc pretty early.
Yeah.
And we have to just, like, be okay with that, I guess.
And I just like Tobias more, so maybe that's why I also just feel like Jake doesn't have, like, a character. Like, he's just so very everyman still in these books. Like, it feels like it could be almost anybody, right? Like, Marco's personality shines right through. Axe's personality shines right through, because he's always, talking about year minutes and stuff. Like, Jake's always kind of fall flat for me. Like, I know there's some of his books coming up that I really do love, but I think I like Jake more as a character from other people's points of view.
Yeah, I think he's like the everyman that they couldn't write their way out of, kind of.
Yeah.
It was like, this is the person that's going to draw people into the series because it's so relatable. Like, white boy in unnamed suburban town.
Yeah, he's like white boy protagonist.
Yeah, and then later it was like, wait, that's actually kind of a boring character, so let's try to give him a bit of depth with, like, the crushing weight of responsibility, but then also he's not actually a good leader in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Anyways, Brayden, I know you're itching to talk about why the fish people are, like, the best innovation in this series to date.
I mean, y'all know me. I just fucking love Lovecraft, and I love this reference to him. I think it's just the more cool Lovecraftian shit there is, the more I feel at home.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't have a problem with the fact that they, like, basically had a completely impossible origin story?
No, I mean,
okay.
So do the Animorphs.
No, I mean, like, according to physics, it makes no sense. I agree, but the Animorphs have space magic. These guys didn't have any magic. How did they end up underwater? How could they breathe under that much pressure? Where's the air coming from? Do they have, like, you know what I mean?
There's a lot of questions. Like, how did this much oxygen get trapped in this huge cavern that somehow never, like, what's the water pressure like? Why isn't the water filling up this whole cavern? You're under the ocean.
How did the Japanese not investigate a missing aircraft carrier, even after it sinks?
It was 1944. Like, we had enough technology that we could search for them. And then who made the door? That's going to bother me so much.
Except in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, shit. Here we go.
Yeah, I think that was definitely an implication I've gotten in previous ones, is that a lot of, these are just the missing ships that happen sometimes in the mysterious ocean.
I will say one thing, that the sort of sewn up mannequin bodies was some fucking hardcore shit for an Animorphs book.
It was extremely intense.
This was a really good, like, visceral episode, because I agree, Brayden, the part where the whale gets cut in half and they're like swimming through clouds of blood and guts. Intense. Followed up by this like crazy.
I was about that noise.
This like Coraline world where people are like sewn up in sort of taxidermy positions.
Yeah, like a zoo. Or not a zoo, but like a museum. Where so creepy. Like they're just there, just acting out poses.
What are they learning from that? Like,
nothing.
What is the purpose of it? Like, just write it down. You can use these materials to like build your city up.
That is something you have to ask, I guess. Like, it didn't have... They described it as a museum, I guess. So maybe it was... But, like, it didn't have any, like, placards saying, like, these people were found here, and their planes were stuffed full of bombs, and they were high on meth. I wonder what was up with that.
Okay, we talked about D&D a lot this episode. This whole book just felt like a D&D one-shot that you run when like one of the players is missing and you gotta wrap it up really quickly, and now the characters are in a tight spot and the bad guys are penning them in, so like, here you go, Deus Ex Machina, and he's not gonna kill you for some bullshit reason. Like, for sure Visser 3 could have run that shit by himself. Come on.
I like to think that Visser 3 is very like, I'll get my people to handle this, and never learned the like control scheme, because even Axe was like, hey, this is more complicated than usual. Like, maybe Visser 3 just like didn't take the time to learn it, which is funny, because why would he assume that they knew how to do it? And I guess he assumes they're Andalites, so maybe, yeah.
But still, this is like Yerk craft that they invented, right? Like, the Andalites don't have a sea blade.
The majority of Yerk space technology is all
from
Andalite tech.
Basically, yeah, that's true.
Stolen.
Like, they saw the Skritnaw, but the Skritnaw tech is basically useless.
And they were just like, Skritnaw, bro.
Exactly.
Brayden, is there anything else you want to say about the fish people before we move on to what we've been hinting at, which is the Visser 3 Morph Minute?
Oh, yeah.
I just think they were neat.
Oh, okay, wait. One last thing. The big Nartek feast where it was full of raw fish. Y'all, I had my very first poke bowl today, and it was like taking a big gulp of like delicious ocean in my mouth. Like, it was awesome. So that's what I was thinking about when I read that scene. And just how I would go ham for some salmon sashimi right now.
All right, let's jump into our...
This is a Morph Minute. This is a Morph Minute. Three.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
It's been since book 31, I think. The Chameleon.
Was that book 31?
No.
That was 29, I think.
35?
No, that was 30.
It was a Marco book.
That was 30. That was the Marco book where they're crawling up the mountain. Yep. God, it's been a while. 6 whole books.
Okay. The morph is the Luminar, and it's described as 2 short arms and 2 stubby legs protruded from a bulbous body, sausage-like fingers, a wide smile crackling with electricity.
Also, wasn't his like legs on fire? Because there's a description when the water rushes in that it puts out the leg fire and it like turns his legs to flesh.
It's okay. I just assume it's like a really overweight like Michelin man, but pink for some reason. It seemed really impractical for doing anything other than just like sitting and shooting stuff. Like, how does he move?
Like, that's literally it, which is like an interesting creature. What's their life like on the planet Glorplar, which is like the worst alien planet name I've read in Animorphs. Like, Axe just says some bullshit, and it's like, yeah, okay, sure, if they named their planet that.
I mean, they might have. That was pretty insensitive of you, Tessa.
I'm sorry. I apologize to all of our listeners. I made a mistake.
Okay. This book was written by Erica Bobone. Bobone? That's a cool name. Bobone.
Have we mentioned the ghostwriters yet? Like, ever before?
She's only written this book. This is her only book. But
Erica.
I felt like it was really I felt it was very different. And just in the prose and like the sort of intensity of everything.
Yeah, like I might have enjoyed it more if it wasn't an Animorphs book. Like maybe that's what made me so angry, just because it's like this could have been really cool if it was like its own thing, you know?
It felt like and back me up here, Brayden, if you know what I'm talking about, where like especially in prog rock bands or like post rock bands or whatever, the guitarists or whoever is like the songwriter for the band will put out solo stuff, and actually that's just like a laboratory for the main band stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what this feels like. It's like KA and Michael were like, all right, we're thinking about pitching something else. Let's see if it's like good in any way, shape, or form. Turns out no. So that's why we didn't see the Nantek Chronicles. Queen Soko's origin. She fucked her cousin, or her parents were cousins, and that's it. That's the origin.
And that's it. She fucked her cousin too, but that was like, just for fun.
That was personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's very different. Like, I'll agree. Like, the description of the morphing was very different. Like, there's the one phrase where his head poured out like a dump truck?
Yeah, wait, I have it. Like gravel from a dump truck. What the fuck?
Like, what?
That is not okay. I mean, it's very visual, but it's also just like horrifying.
It was a lot more of like the melting and stuff, and not just like, oh, my bones ground and now I'm smaller. Oh, the world is getting smaller and now I'm getting bigger. Like, it was a lot of like, yeah, like everything is melting and boiling together and just, ugh.
According to the internet, this woman, Erica Bobone, has only written one book. Animorphs number 36.
Her magnum opus, that's it. She's done.
Maybe it's a pen name for J.K. Rowling.
Oh, shit.
Twilight Zone music in the background.
And she did this, but she was like trying to figure stuff out for Harry Potter number 4. So she's like, what if one of the challenges was going into like the big lake? So then she like wrote this real quick and was like, yeah, cool. Weird mer people in the lake. And had that for like the one scene in the Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, it's a trope. Like Brayden said, it's from Lovecraft, and I feel like if that's not the original, then it's probably pretty close to it, because I think this has been around for ages.
Wait, people living underground, is it? Like underwater is the trope, or
underwater people? Yeah, and that they're hostile, right?
Yeah.
It was basically the premise of Aquaman, the movie that just came out.
Oh man, that movie.
Shark head people.
That was a fun movie.
We're kind of running along on time, so let's do perhaps the most important segment of this episode.
OTP alert! We also haven't really had one of these in a while.
Not a good one, anyways.
Not a good one. There's a lot here.
So, Jake and Cassie, I've described it here as hug fuck at the beginning.
It's a tender moment. They hear someone die and they embrace each other.
But for people their age and that introverted for that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I know the first time a boy ever held my hand, I almost had an orgasm, so I get it.
Okay. Did Brayden just like infect your body? Because that is not something
Jake
you would
calls
say.
Cassie his girlfriend. It's so cute.
Yeah, he does.
That was pretty sweet. I don't know why I didn't mention it. I guess I wanted to just get through the story. I wanted to get to those dank machine gun wielding fish folk.
Yeah. Also, Rachel shoves Marco playfully, just saying.
You gotta let it die. You gotta let it die, Mikhail, because then she hugged Tobias's bird body as much as one can hug a bird.
Like, she would have killed him.
She was trying to.
No, but out of love.
If she hugged him like she could hug a man, she would have killed him. And she knows that.
Also, whoa. There's another Rachel Tobias bit at the very beginning where Jake is like, oh yeah, here's the definition of Nothlit. Rachel really wants Tobias to stay as a human, but I know why Tobias wants to stay as a hawk so that he can morph. And it's like, is this an argument that everybody knows? Like, everybody knows that Rachel just wants Tobias to stay as a human? Because I thought that was on the down low. private stuff.
She doesn't seem like someone who would care if people overheard her saying that. And maybe, am I wrong? Is that a wrong read on that?
I would just feel it would be awkward. Like, I think she might, just because, like, we're in a battle, and she knows that if he morphs human, then he's out of the war.
I feel like also they say that a lot, and we've also established that it's 100% not true, which is annoying because it doesn't seem to ever sink into them that he could live and help with the war as a human Nothlit.
It would be so difficult. Everybody knows his cute little Tobias face. The most important part of the OTP alert is Marco having raging boners for all of these fish women.
It's gross.
And probably men. Let's be real.
I don't love like the ogling women trope. I don't find it very funny anymore.
I don't like how, and like a lot of the ghostwriters will just do that for Marco, but I don't know. I feel like when Catherine and Michael write Marco, it's more of like jokey and he's flirtatious and not just like looking good, finger guns, my eyeballs pop out of my head.
Okay, I think we've made it through to the other side of this underwater tunnel. Tessa, where can people find more of our stuff?
You can find more of our stuff on our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org or on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else I'm gonna smoke crack.
Ooh!
You can show your support for Braden's crack addiction at our Patreon page, patreon.com/DORKBAJIR.
We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and much more.
We like to give a shout out to our patrons at the Dork-Bajir level or higher by giving them an Animorphs stanky title.
Big shout out to Elemis : the sewn up corpse.
Zachary Vaudo : the porthole joke.
Andrew Vila : the storm.
Shanna : probably felt bad for the Nantec like Cassie.
Nick : the flash fried poke bowl.
Mariah Wamby : Jesus, the distraction. God, I can't think of anything.
Anne-Marie Ellis : I'd hug you in public.
Steam driven : the black billowing orca blood filling the ocean.
Martha Urquhart : the food criminal.
Greg Della Posta : the queen. That's it.
Ace Chavez : Jake forgetting that the fish people can swim like fish.
Anyanka : the amphibian Jake.
Michael Armenta : the physics-defying reason why Draken beams can work underwater. For the Animorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, and you know what I'm about.
This has been Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles. No reaction on my Braden's crack addiction joke back there.
I didn't say I have a crack addiction. I just said I do crack sometimes. You don't have to be weird about it.
I feel like everyone who does crack is addicted to crack, whether they admit it or not. Because everything I've heard about crack is like, you can't not love crack.
Hi, hello, welcome to the ad for the show. I'm Mitch, the host of Whack Talk Radio. On this show, I talk to interesting people about interesting things. Do you need to know more than that? Okay, fine. Pretty much we'll talk about whatever my guest is interested in or passionate for. Sometimes it'll be silly, sometimes serious, sometimes a bit of both. Whatever the topic is, hopefully we'll find a way to make you that much more of an expert about it. You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, along with some other equally awesome shows on our network. New episodes of Whack Talk Radio are every Sunday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcasts. Let us know what you think on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Whack Talk Radio. That's WENGH Talk Radio.
Whack Talk Radio.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy,
a podcast network.